Hello you guys, welcome to the corner where we talk about anime, manga, and everything in between. Today we are talking about two animes. It's been a little bit, so I'm doing this as a little Christmas present for you guys since I have been gone for a little bit, a while. Well, this is going to be the first time I do one of these type of episodes in the first place. It is an episode versus one, the other. The episodes are Absolute Duo and the Trinity 7. These are two harems I ended up coming across. They are have a lot of similarities, but pretty different in a lot of pretenses. So without much further ado, we end up talking about Absolute Duo first. Absolute Duo. Once I get to this, Absolute Duo is a cast of characters. Tori himself being the main character in this whole series, and Julie being the second main female character in the whole series. The whole situation that ends up happening is Tori ends up going to school to learn blaze moves. These blaze moves are the moves of the soul. They are weapons that your soul materializes. When it really comes down to it, these two end up being the same room, stuff like that. And why do I want to say Jessica? Julie is one of those people that, in turns, doesn't understand guys that much and stuff, so things end up becoming weird. You see father-daughter relationship or stuff like that. She always comes back to something about her father, something about her mother, and reminders of that situation. And clinging on to Tori really quick, and she starts naming a lot of his stuff. She usually calls Tor Thor, and usually and names his moves and shield. Like, interesting things, man. The biggest thing that comes to play when it comes down to this is there's actually a lot of different schools battling for the same type of situation, the Absolute Duo. It's just something that they strive for, and these two were supposed to be a temporary team at first and turned into a permanent team as time went on. Continuing living together and stuff like that. A lot of weird things ended up happening, and we'll explain that as we get a little bit more into this episode. But for right now, we need to head over to Trinity Blade and get a good, not Trinity Blade, that's a completely different anime, Trinity 7, and that's a completely different anime. It's the same type, harem. We get to follow Akata through his travels. Something ends up happening. He ends up making a world dedicated to keeping things normal. Things then get caught and spirals out of control as a mage comes and puts things back to the way they're supposed to be. Well, what ends up happening is this guy's not your normal guy. This anime is. If this anime had a thing, it'd be kind of like the Night 2, Absolute Sevens, not Absolute Sevens, Absolute Duels. Like, they'd be the moon, and Absolute Duo would be the sun, because it's literally like night and day on these two. The main characters are have the exact opposite personality. I mean, we have Tor, who is a little bit more bashful when it comes to things, and this one, Kati, he is very much opposite of that. He literally says what he thinks. Anyways, let's get back to discussing this, and I'll get into that a little bit more. What ends up happening is he had two choices: die or give rid of his memories and stuff like that, and move on with his life. Well, he chose the third option to become a mage. He wanted to save his cousin and bring her back to where it needs to happen. Things need to so they can continue on and stuff like that. Well, time moves on. He starts learning more magic, and we find out that he can actually copy abilities. Anyways, so we get all these characters up here, and they are very interesting. The Trinity Seven are based off the Seven Deadly Sins. He is obviously has to take from archive the Seven Deadly Sins type situation, and since he can copy, he can learn their abilities as time moves on. He just has to complete certain things in order to copy them type situation. So we have a situation here between both animes. We got them both in both of them are good harems. One has a few more girls in it than the other, but you know, it's really all about the harem type of situation. Their their things. One was brought onto him. The other one was kind of a surprise. But we get to. So we're going to do this between cast and harem situations. I would give the majority of the harem to Trinity 7 because there are more girls, more girls swarming around him, more of a quantity of a quality thing. While absolute duel, I think it maxes out at 5. Yeah, I think it maxes out at 5 because one of the girls is actually going for him. She is just more oblivious to the whole situation. So he has like 5 people after him, maybe 6 if we count the teacher, but that's a questionable thing. Well, Akati gets 7, 8 people after him at one time, pretty much, and even though, and we could probably count to 9 one, even though it's a twin type situation. But Trinity 7 gets the point and just the majority of girls when it comes down to it. We also get the beach scenes when it comes down to it. The beach scenes are the ones that will give a point into that situation. What's going on here? Well, one beach scene happened in the second episode, and that was in Trinity 7. So we get Trinity 7 right here. Trinity 7, beach scene was a lot more storyline based and interesting when it really came down to it. They destroy the academy. They have to go to the beach. And this beach was something that was dedicated to later on. But since the academy was destroyed and they didn't fix it, they went to it for this point in time. Well, it went to help progress the storyline a bit more when it really came down to it, and had an actual pretense to it. Most of the beach theme was pretty interesting, and you get to see situations like him having a fantasy over rubbing the redhead's rubbing suntan lotion on the redhead's back and stuff like that, and they're always making fun of stuff like she's one of the prudish characters in the episode. Then we get Absolute Duo, which from what ends up happening in their beach scene is a lot different. This beach scene helped out to progress the storyline as well as give us a lot of fun, interesting things to watch and see. Both beach scenes were comparatively good for the season itself. Both of them had reasons for it, but I think the one that had the most fun with their beach scene was probably Absolute Duo. Absolute Duo had a lot more things that ended up happening in it, and it just seemed more had more of a summer love feeling to it over a let's have some fun feeling. But it really did bring things together, and actually they both brought more to the series as a whole. It progressed the storyline in every way possible, but the beach thing goes to Absolute Duo with their interesting a way to keep me look like, oh, what's going on here? Oh, there's a little storyline here. Oh, what's going on here? It was they ended up going to this one because it was vacation time, but the not really a vacation since they still had to train. Um, so this it was just a free day when it really came down to it. But yeah, that was the beach scenes for both of those. Honestly, I give the like I said, I give it to Absolute Duo on that one. So Trinity 7 1 point for their um, utmost cast and Absolute Duo for the beach scene type situation. Well, what are we heading into next? Next, we get something that I was surprised to see in both of these animes. This was fairly interesting. We get Absolute Duos, which is right up top, Absolute Duo, and we get Trinity 7, which is at the bottom. Now, the bed scene. Have two girls in the bed at the same time. Um, this shows the characteristics of both main characters in a more in-depth way, actually, on how they reacted to the situation. And up here, and on duo, an absolute duo, Tor gets pulled in by both Jessica and the British girl. I can't think of her name at the moment, and he's just surprised that they're even there. They even notice that they even did this. He's just hot as hell and everything. He's like, "This is soft. What? And this is warm over here. What's going on?" That situation. It was when he realized it, he gets extremely embarrassed, and things kind of get misunderstood and more funny things and end up happening. Well, we also get Trinity Sevens. Trinity Sevens was a surprise to Arata, and the reason for it is because he wakes up and there's two girls right next to him. Like one's like they just holding him and stuff like that, and they're both naked in his bed, both of them. I don't know why these scenes were so entertaining, but I think the most entertaining one was actually Trinity Sevens, because we get the normal anime harem type situation when it comes to do absolute duo. But when it really came down to it, the one that actually stood out the most was actually Trinity Seven's main character's line when a girl walks in on him with these two women in the bed. Which is the redhead walks in, and what ends up happening is he's just like, man, I'm an unlucky guy sitting in this a bed with two women, and then one walks in. He's like, well, I have room for one more, and he's just flipping out at this point, embarrassed as hell. So when it really comes down to this scene, which has a lot of similarities to it with the last one, just difference in characters, I would have to give it to just his outspokenness and stuff like that. So Trinity 7 gets the point there. So it was a very interesting aspect when it came down to it. We got oh, then we get their abilities as we move on. The Magi ability, which is Trinity 7 up top. Trinity 7's Magi ability is pretty interesting, and this is actually the second form he takes on, because he ends up copying one of the other Magi's ability and is using that Archives ability type of situation. He has more of a I can copy whatever I need, but it's going to take some time. They actually gave him some restrictions on it and stuff like that, and that's what made that one fairly interesting, because I like it when the main character can learn new moves and progress in the storyline with those new moves, using them as time goes on. But we also get dual Absolute Duo, whose shield, once he reaches level 4, can actually cause shields to pop up around people he wants to protect. He also gets his fighting move, his fist move, which isn't a soul move. It actually does hurt people with or without the possibility of doing so. His ability is really cool when it comes to a defensive stance and how to protect people and make it into an offensive ability at the same point in time. Um, the one with the best power when it really comes down to it is Trinity 7. Um, but the one with the that has the most adversity with their ability is actually Absolute Duo. Yes, Trinity 7 has a better has that yeah, I'm powerful and stuff like that, but it's an OP characteristic, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything good for when it really comes down to it. It needs when it comes to abilities and stuff like that, it should normally be something that can't be powering and can always have have a good weakness that can balance out the whole situation. So, Trinity, Trinity Seven gets offed on that just because the ability itself is OP. Just how it ends up being and everything like that. His thing is control. It's just yeah. But so when it really comes down to it, Absolute Duel gets the point in this situation. Absolute Duel has more adversity when it comes down to that shield. It has to learn how to work with it, deal with it, and move into trying to make it offensive along with defensive. And he does a really good job of doing so. So the point for ability actually does go to them, even though the point for OP ability would have gone to Trinity 7 if the OP ability was OP. We head over to this one, if you give me a second, guys. Alright, here guys, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of extra in Trinity Blade. The ability that he also obtained when it comes down to it is to nullify his opponent's ability. Magical powers, which also in turn ends up stripping them. I thought this would be a nice little extra thing for you guys, and to cause the tiebreaker to come to a complete turnaround. The thing is, the adverse effect of the ability is to tear off the woman's clothing. This anime is very when it came down to it is very lewd and has a lot of things that come down to it. No actual nudity actually pertains in these animes. So if you guys are looking for that, you're not gonna find it. These are just fun little animes where they just do certain things, kind of like you guys know Kill la Kill and stuff like that. How they strip off the clothes and stuff like that to win the battle. Well, this one is more of a, hey, we're gonna give it a little extra thing. The reason I'm giving this bonus point to Trinity 7 is because of the fact that he needs to learn how to control the ability to do this. Like, he can't, because when he did this the first time, as you can see, he tore off everybody's clothes. Like, when it came down to it, and the person that reflected back at him, it tore off his clothes. So he had to figure out a way to get it so he can it only affects one person at a time instead of everybody to make things easier. He became more adapted to his ability as time came on, and as situations progressed. When it came to Absolute Duo, the adverse effect of his ability wasn't really much. He did not have a backlash on his ability unless he was using his actual fists, which causes damage to his body, which later on in the anime kind of diminished. Like, it's kind of like they forgot that it causes harm to his own body. but it's just one thing that ends up happening. So he does learn how to control that situation situationally, and becomes a better mage for it. That's the only reason he gets the access point, because he has overcome a thing he really didn't care much to fix, but he fixed it just in case, just so this wouldn't happen again and he wouldn't get hit by somebody. So the bonus point, honestly, would go to him when it really comes down to it. Between the endings and stuff, for the end of the season, it all came down to a continuum type feeling where to know more about it, you would need to get into the next season, and hopefully it would work out. I don't expect to see a second season for either of these, just because of the fact they're not much well-known harems, and if I flip it over to the manga, I think I could probably get more out of it, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing with these two harems, to give another good verse facts between them. Trinity 7 takes it 3-2 with the bonus point, because of the fact that Trinity 7 was really funny, and the main character himself was out there. He was different. He didn't just embarrassingly look turn the other cheek when it came to sexual encounters and everything like that. He was a pervert, pretty much. He was just the unexpected person that would be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, let's do this," and just get into it type of situation. The storyline also continued on. It didn't just become humorous. It actually had the flow of the storyline and the humor all within the same aspects of the show. There was a lot when it came down to Trinity 7, and it is the anime that has won this versus challenge. The when it came to Absolute Duel, they had comedy in it, but it had a lot more of a serious pretense when it really came down to it, and it had the basic harem guy who gets embarrassed when it comes to girls and sexual explicit acts. So it really came down to what was more original than the other uh, for the whole situation at hand. So I suggest watching them both. They're really good harems when it comes down to it. But Trinity 7 I would recommend watching first, just because, or when you just want a good laugh or something that kind of hits that unexpected point that's just like, oh my god, what the hell just happened here? Anyways, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope I will continue doing these every so often, just as a little special. Hopefully, I can get this more down to a point and it not going off on so long. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day and a fun one as well.